Well, a massive welcome to you. Thank you for coming to my channel and watching this video. Within it, you're going to see real footage of removing love spells called pellets from Gunung Kidul in Java, Indonesia. Now, I want to emphasise that nobody here is acting. These are real people, and whatever your beliefs on what is happening here, everybody involved believed that what was happening was very real indeed. You might want to call this removal an exorcism or a Ruqyah, and you might want to call the person doing it a Dukun or a shaman. But none of these are words that Parkano, the paranormal helper that you're going to see, would choose to use. I do hope that you enjoy this. Now, this is part of a new section to the magic of Java called The Real Magic of Java. In this new section, I'm going to focus on real people performing what they believe to be real magic in Java. I'll attempt to explain some of the elements of this Javanese magic, particularly what I describe as the Kejawen elements. However, I need to warn you that inevitably my explanations will be partial. Maybe sometimes some elements of what I say will be incorrect, for which I profusely apologise. But this reflects the oral tradition of magic in Java, the mystery, and at times, I have to admit, subterfuge surrounding the practice of magic in Java. Please accept my apologies, but I do hope you enjoy this new section. Now, love spells are very common in Java, particularly used by women, but also by men. And they're often called pellets. And there's various forms they can take. At their simplest, they're oils. And this would be oils that normally you'd put on yourself to make the person that you're seeking to attract more attracted to you. So, for example, minyak simply means oil, but minyak kanaga, which you would probably know as ylang ylang, is often used on the night of a wedding. The bed is sprinkled with the oil in order to evoke blessings of the marriage. Because it's believed to create a special bonding amongst couples and keep them happily entwined together. Another type of minyak is minyak mawar or rose oil, and that's often used by Javanese dukuns or shaman to create love potions. Especially mixed oil is minyak seribu bunga or thousand flowers oil. It has an erotic effect on both the wearer and their target. It's highly effective when used in love potions for both men and women, and applied for sensual pleasure as well as sexual desires or fantasies. A very common mixed oil is called putri doyong, and it actually means mermaid's tears. So it's a mermaid who's been scorned by their lover, and as they weep they create these tears or matter, and it's believed to represent a woman's heartfelt pain. They're therefore a very powerful enchantment to make one's lovers return or to find another. In Indonesia, however, despite being sweet smelling, they're also used by men to increase the libido. Rather a strange one is called manigaja, which literally means elephant sperm, and this is put on just like an oil or a perfume. Whenever I buy it, I have to say that the people selling it me have assured me that it's man-made, but I've never known quite how to take that one. And finally, we have Bulu Perindu, a very powerful love spell from Kalimantan in Borneo, and I'll talk further about that later on. Now, all types of stones are used very much so in Javanese magic. Often these can be placed in a ring, and they're what in the West we might call semi-precious stones, often, or agates. But sometimes they're precious stones. Why is it that they're used for magical purposes? Well, it's believed that you can entrap a jinn, or a benevolent jinn known as a kardum, or some sort of a spirit inside the jinn, inside the stone. There's a myriad of stones that will be sold to you in Java that are meant to attract love or do something special for love. And it really depends on the sort of jinn that has been trapped within the stone. However, very common stones that you'll see associated with love are the manigaja, which, as I've mentioned, it literally means elephant sperm. And it's a whitey, creamy stone. Frankly, it's just an agate, but people who sell in it will always tell you that it's calcified elephant sperm. And the other one that's very, very common is the Mera de Lima. Now, the Mera de Lima is a mystical ruby from Java, believed to have enormous powers in protecting the owner, curing them of all illness and prolonging life. Now, true parts of this Mera de Lima cost tens of thousands of dollars. And they can be identified because they're said to turn 7 glasses of water red. It's also believed that if 3 people hold hands with one stone in with a stone in theirs, their hair cannot be cut and a knife cannot cut their skin. Needless to say, all Mera de Limas for sale in Indonesia are fake. What they often are is a Mera Siam or a Thai red zircon. They're often used in love spells and sold as charmed love items. The next sort of items I want to describe are what I call charmed items, for want of a better description of them. There's a great sort of animistic tradition within Java. So these are natural items that you come across that are associated with love charms. And the most famous and one of the strongest of these is the Bulu Perindu grass from Kalimantan, which you'd know as Borneo in Indonesia. I believe it to be related. It may actually be the same thing as what in Western magic is called moving serpent root. Bulu Perindu is an extremely powerful love spell, and it infuses with oil and can be worn to attract your lover. Another such item is an Indonesian shark sucker fin, or remora, and this again is a very, very powerful love charm or pellet. The remora fish attaches itself to the fin of sharks and other large fish, sucking their blood, and it's almost impossible to remove. Remora have been known to attach themselves to human divers, and it's apparently extremely painful to take off. And then another natural thing is the sambalilin. This is an iridescent insect, Chiropagastra, and it's much sought after as a love charm across the whole of Southeast Asia, in fact. I'm now going to describe Jimat. You could, I suppose, in the West, they're close to what we'd call talisman or amulets. Now, I'm sure that Western magicians are going to get very annoyed with me for mixing those two up, because they're not the same. But in Indonesia, it's a slightly different distinction. Although often jimat are worn on the person. So I suppose amulet is a better description. Now, the first in this group I'm going to talk about are coins known as gobok. When coins first came to Indonesia, they came from China, and they were actually used much more as magical items than as items of exchange. Now, this does come from a Chinese mystical tradition as well. And slowly the Indonesians started making copies of these Chinese coins. And indeed, these Indonesian copies and the original Chinese coins are very highly sought after in Bali to this day, where they're sewn into people's clothing. However, in Java, I mean also in Bali, but particularly in Java, they slowly started putting sort of Javanese characters, particularly wayang, that's the shadow puppets, on these coins. And coins that would be particularly associated with love would be coins depicting Semar Mesem or Nira Orokidal, or indeed a Kuda, which is a lucky horse. And that's associated with the most powerful love spell of all, Jarang Goyang. Let me tell you a little bit about Nira Orokidal, because she's very important. She's thought to be the spiritual protector and consort to the Mataram sultans. In fact, to this day, she's believed to be. So the Sultan of Jogja married Nira Orokidal on Sato Suro, the first day of the month of Suro. The current Sultan actually wants his daughter to take over the Sultanate when he dies. And that's caused uproar, not so much because they feel it's impossible to have a female Sultan, but because people feel that it's ludicrous that a female would have a female consort. The Mataram Sultanate was started by Pembenanan Senapati, who was born in 1586, died in 1601. And as he meditated on the beach of Parangkusumo, on seeing him, Nira Orokidal rose from the sea and immediately fell in love with him, promising to help him to establish the Sultanate. However, to the Sunda people, she's known as Ratau Laut Selatan, meaning Queen of the Southern Seas. Originally Dawi Kadita, the beautiful princess of the Panjaran kingdom, who fled to the sea after a rival used black magic against her. Nira Blorong is an incarnation of Nira Orokidal in snake form. Some people suggest she's simply a noblewoman in the court of Nira Orokidal, although she's also believed to be the daughter of a snake, and therefore sometimes seen as the daughter of Nira Orokidal by people from around Jogja and Solo. Whilst green represents Nira Orokidal, red is seen to represent Nira Blorong. Praying to Nira Blorong is said to bring wealth. Pesugian, which involves a pact to bring wealth in exchange for human blood. Although some believe this also risks the wrath of Nira Orokidal, synonymous with asking favours of spirits who expect something in return. Many see Nera Blorong as Nera Rorokidal's dark manifestation or left-handed path. Semar Mesem is a character of Javanese mythology who frequently appears in the wayang shadow puppets. He's one of the Punakawan clowns, but is in fact divine and very wise. He's the Dahayang, guardian spirit of Java. Indeed, some regard him as having established Java and seen as the most sacred figure in the wayang set. He's said to be the god of Sanghang Ishama in human form. The name Semar is said to derive from the Javanese root samar, dim, obscure or mysterious. He's often referred to the honorific title Kailura Semar, the Venerable Chief. In one version of Badad Tanat Jawi, the Javanese creation myth, Semar cultivated a small rice field near Mount Merubu for 1,000 years before there were any men. His descendants, the spirits of the island, came into conflict with people as they cleared the fields and populated the island. A very powerful priest, unable to deviate from his king's orders to continue cultivating the island, provided Semar with a role that would allow he and his grandchildren to stay. Semar's role was to be the spiritual advisor and magical supporter of the royalty, and those of descendants who protect the humans of Java can remain there. There's a rectangular chandi or temple on the Dean Plateau known as Chandi Samar, perhaps originally a treasury, but it was generally assumed by scholars that its name was given to the temple centuries after its erection. Some Kejawen practitioners believe that Semar represents the Buddhist traditions and remind us not to forget them. Other characters you may see on Gobog include Panji and Chandrajayana. Panji was a legendary prince from Jangala, East Java, who was arranged to be married to Princess Chandra Kiara from the competing kingdom of Kendiri, also in East and Central Java. Chandra Kiara is said to have disappeared before the wedding, and there are various Wayang and Wayang Gedog mask stories about the search for his bride. Although these stories are known across Southeast Asia, they're especially popular in the Javanese heartland, from Cirebon to Bali. Rama and Shinta is the main character from the Ramayana, and therefore it forms a powerful love charm or pellet. The divine lovers, Kemayana or Kemadeva and Kemerith Rati from the Samaradahana is an old Javanese poem. Statues, or known as patung, are also used as love potions, especially if they're of Semar Mesem, Nera Rorokidal or a horse. In parts of East Java, the seahorse is associated with Nera Rorokidal and therefore brings with it all the good fortune and protection associated with Nera Rorokidal. In particular, Nera Rorokidal is associated with finding love and protection from spells designed to take your money. A very commonly found statue is that of Loro Plonia, the inseparable couple. Traditionally, these statues are placed on the bed of a couple about to be married. Following the marriage, the statues are used as ornaments in the home. In Jogja, it's traditional for the woman to be placed on the right, and in Solo, the male. Some people believe the statues to represent Dawi Shri, the fertility goddess, often seen as the rice goddess in Java, and her consort, Sudano. In Bali, you sometimes come across Kama Sutra figures that are also used in love rituals. Wafak. Now these definitely aren't amulets, so they'd be closest to describing them as talisman. They'll be written often in Javanese or Arabic, and if they are in Arabic, they probably contain a dua or a prayer, and they'll have got Solomonic squares on them. A very special type of these is called a tambang liring. The Banjar people of Banjarmasin, that's Kalimantan in Borneo, have a tradition of tambang liring paintings on animal skins and textiles. Although I think the concept is borrowed from Java, where similar paintings are produced. These are painted by a skilled artist with a very high spiritual level, normally known as a Kia, Ulema or Sheikh, who has prayed and fasted to enhance the powers that they bring to the object itself. Normally, the tambang liring depicts Wayang characters, each of which is associated with a specific spell or outcome. Semar Mesem, for example, is particularly used in love spells. And the Wayang characters are evoked by the painting to use in your own spells and command them to do what you desire from them. Traditionally, the eyes of these characters, particularly the Wayang, are painted with paint mixed with human blood, which makes the character in the spell come to life. Now, it's believed that if this blood comes from someone who's died unexpectedly, such as through murder, the magic is strongest. You may also come across materials, items that are worn, items that are carried on you, that may have these sort of written love spells on them. The most common that you find will be Semar Mesem handkerchiefs. So it's very easy to keep a handkerchief on you. But if it's got Semar Mesem on it, chances are that it contains some sort of a love spell. Now, susuk is practiced by many Dukun in Java, where it's an invasive procedure, and it involves putting small gold needles or jewels onto the skin, often of a woman, to make them more attractive. Many Dukun also often sell creams to female clients to make them appear more beautiful or to whiten their skin. Unlike the Thai waxes that you can buy, these creams are a traditional Javanese love spellets. A small amount on the face will attract potential lovers, regardless of gender or sexuality. Now, the most powerful love spell of them all is the Jarang Goyang spell. And what this does is it takes away all physical sensations and completely wipes the mind, leaving only a picture of the perpetrator in one's head. It takes 40 days of fasting for this spell to work, and presumably a lot of money paid to a Dukun to do it. I don't know how many of you know of Naila Charisma. She does have something of an international reputation. She's an Indonesian dangdut singer, and a few years ago she had a very popular song known as Jarang Goyang. Now, in popular culture, preman hold a position similar to that of gangster rappers, although they're more associated with a heavy metal type music, which in Indonesia is also known as preman. Their paramilitary style organisation is often abused by politicians and even the state. Indeed, they were very central to the independence movement. But their antecedents go way back, certainly to as far as the Mataram Kingdom, providing an important social structure to a weak state. This was developed under the Dutch and the Japanese, and it's maintained today. So preman actually regulate whole range of sort of social functions, market trade, ensuring the flow of traffic at intersections, as often traffic lights, well, often there are no traffic lights, or if they are, they're frequently ignored, street parking, and a host of minor interactions regulated by the state in most countries. A recent innovation in the Cinetron, that's the soap opera formula, is to include a highly stylised preman as comical figures. Often this is based on the Semar Messam mystical character popular in Wyong. These preman groups are often based on ethnicity and provide a mechanism for rural migrants to integrate into a city where there's no social security. In this role, you could see them as being like self-help business organisations such as the Rotary Club or the Freemasons. So many Indonesians actually see preman as providing an important social function, and that their abuse of power is certainly no more than that by the state. And now, when I first moved to Gunung Kidul, a group of premen from up the mountain attempted to extort money from me when I started to build a home. The gang used Javanese adat tradition in their crude attempts to extort the money from me, stretching the boundaries of my generosity and charity. The attempts to extort money always begin with a statement, "You don't understand the Javanese or the Indonesian way," which actually means try to comprehend the deep cultural significance of being scammed. Everything ended when it was found that the leader of the preman from up the mountain was actually one of Made's relatives, and therefore deferent to the family, and especially the Dukun head, whom he feared. Nevertheless, this group of premen have a reputation for getting drunk on Chui bootleg, terrorising the desa and further afield. Unfortunately, Mas Perwa's daughter got involved with this group of premen, and when she fell pregnant, particularly in rural areas, she did fall pregnant, but before that she'd been spotted by a youth group that's very active in rural areas, and people who transgress sort of moral codes, particularly sexual moral codes, are offered either to make a contribution to this group. Now, this isn't preman, the money goes to good causes, or they have to get married. And lacking the money, plus she was pregnant, they got married. He very much mistreated her, and eventually it ended up in divorce. But her first boyfriend after the divorce was one of his relatives, who was also a preman. Now, Pakano, who you're going to see working with Mas Perwa's daughter here, recognised that both the preman husband and the preman boyfriend had used love spells to trap the daughter. And what's discovered in this episode is that she still has some elements of a love spell from the preman boyfriend within her. So you're going to see Pakano removing it in this video. Now, Pakano, I need to explain to you, is a Catholic, whereas I'm a Muslim. However, we would both describe ourselves as Kejawen practitioners, and we would both say that Kejawen completely overrides whatever our formal religion is. Now, that might seem strange to you, but we believe we believe in every religion. And in Indonesia, one has to choose one of 8 recognised religions as your formal religion on your identity card. So hence me being named a Muslim and him being made him being named Catholic. What I want to emphasise to you is that what you're going to see, I believe to be totally ethical. He completely believes in what he's doing. He must get asked to do unethical things, but I cannot believe that he ever would. He's based in Gunung Kidul, and he has clients from all over Indonesia, possibly, and even, well, I do know some international clients. Now, what you see first is him putting his hand on the hand, but unusually he's also got it on the head, and one often needs 2 points of contacts for the flow of energy. What isn't normally required, however, is knocking off the sunglasses, and I think that's optional. Now, clearly the laying of hands didn't work, so Parkano moves to her back, and I've seen this many times done by Dukun and Ustads, focusing on the back, but I'd never seen Parkano do it before. And there you go, he's removed it, it's gone. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed this. Because these are real events, I can't say how regularly I'm going to be adding to this subsection. Because I don't know how often they're going to occur. But I would imagine that they'll be at least every couple of months, maybe monthly. Now, if you'd like to know when that's going to be, please subscribe and hit the button, and you'll get information on when new ones are released. I'd love you to make comments and ask questions, and if you do, I'll attempt to answer them as honestly as I can. I promise you that there's no attempt on this channel, or this part of this channel, of me. There'll be no attempt by me at any type of subterfuge. I'll try to be as honest and open as I possibly can be. Inevitably, there will be some of you who disagree with my interpretation, and we can agree to disagree. But what you're seeing is real stuff here. What I'd love you to do, if you enjoyed this, is look at my other sections. Particularly, I've written novels about magic in Java, and they contain much more information in them, especially me trying to understand the theories of magic, the psychology of it, and I try and intersperse them with a sort of spiritual dimension. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and God bless you.